will expect to be live in no less than 3 seconds, Corbin. Thank you.
Well, you're live now.
All right, I feel like I was 3 seconds. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another town hall with concrete5. This is the month of June, which is amazing. Time is blasting by. It feels like we just did this, and yeah, June is Pride Month, and a couple of months ago we had a meeting scheduled for what should we do for Pride Month. I think we set it up last June towards the end of it when we realized everybody had a rainbow on their logo except for us, and thought, well, maybe we should or shouldn't. And so we had a meeting, and we decided that we didn't want to jump on a bandwagon to sell rainbow color socks, if you will, and so we didn't. And man, I'm glad we didn't, because there's an awful lot going on right now, and it definitely is exciting times. So our vision is really to build a web for the greater good, and we believe that expressing your ideas online should be as easy as using a pencil and paper, and that's our job. Like, that's what we're working for. That is really hard, and we're trying to just walk the walk and not post long rants to our blog about how we see the world, but really just do our part to deliver a dream for a better communication tool for tomorrow, and keep our heads down, if you will. But there's so much going on. I feel like I need to take a minute just to share a little. We could talk about where we donate money, or how we think you should volunteer your time, or we could talk about how our staff is by and large very white and very male, and how that bothers me, and I would like to change it. And you're going to see a lot of letters from tech CEOs lamenting on that stuff, and I guess it's cool that they're transparent about those fears and concerns, but it kind of feels a little hollow at this point, and not really like news, and almost a little like begging for forgiveness for your sins on Sunday and then showing up to be part of the system again on Monday. So instead, today and this month, I would urge you to think about what pride really means, right? There's two definitions that I could find. The most relevant is pride means the confidence and self-respect as expressed by members of a socially marginalized group. Right. So pride comes out of a very specific event. It's dedicated to the Stonewall Riots. So if you're not familiar with American history, in the 1950s and 60s, being homosexual in America was basically a crime. And back in June of 1969, a few hundred people who had just been pushed around more than enough were getting kicked out of a bar that the New York City cops had decided to raid, a gay bar. And it was it. They just had enough. They pushed back. There was a violent riot. The bar was destroyed. The street burned all night long. The cops had to hide in the back of the bar. It went on till 4 a.m. And then the whole process was repeated again the next night. It was very much anarchy and scary for everybody who saw it. But clearly a moment of change and empowerment, and gay rights really took off from that moment forward through the 70s and 80s, and it still clearly continues to be a struggle and a slog today, and far from over. But we're absolutely in a better place today, and because of it, we all are in a better place today. Because of the Stonewall Riots, and that is exactly what Pride Month is about. Is specifically what we talk about. It's not about putting a rainbow on your logo and selling socks. To reflect on that, like, COVID-19 has put such a huge strain on everyone in our society that it is clearly just the haves and the have-nots, and the inequalities in our system are just stark. The behavior of Amy Cooper, the death of George Floyd, these are things that happen in any week in America. And the rage you see in our streets every night for nights now. That's not outrage. Like that's not people so aghast at something that they've never experienced before that they can't process it. That's exhaustion. That is anger from people who have just had enough of a system that is simply not working for them. Um, it's a system that they can't find pride in, right? Like society is a contract between all of us saying, look, we're not going to leave anybody behind. We're going to trust each other. We're going to try to get through this together. And if that doesn't work, if you can't feel any pride in that, um, it's understandable that you would be very, very angry. The other definition of pride is a more personal one. It's a deep feeling of satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. Um, so as you watch the news and you try to form opinions and as humans we want to kind of sum things up and kind of put them in buckets and pass judgment. um, I would urge you just to be careful. uh, no one likes to be afraid. No one likes to see looting. No one likes to see brutality. It's very reasonable to be against all of those things. That doesn't mean if you're against this you have to be for that. um, Take that energy that you have of trying to process this stuff and ask yourself, what are you actually proud of? And be specific. I don't mean I'm proud of bald eagles and the American flag, because that's meaningless, and I didn't have any part of any of that. That's just pretty stuff to look at. um, what specifically are you proud of? uh, so I am a proud American, and that's not always an easy thing to say these days. I'm certainly not proud of the way our country treats people of color. I'm not proud of our response on COVID-19. But on the other hand, I am pretty proud of all the inventions that we've made, and I'm proud of all the charitable giving that our country does. I'm proud of SpaceX. Like there are things that I can be proud of, and there's things that I can recognize we need to work hard on. And I think it's okay to have complex feelings about complex problems. Um, there's a lot of companies, many of them tech startups, that are very much in the online communication space that we play in, that are making a lot of money by fostering hate and fear, and really built around creating an apathy and an indifference between people. Right? Just say your piece and get some likes and move on. And um, I would urge you just to turn that off. Like that is not helping. Find a way to be empathetic to other people. Right? Pride is that feeling of satisfaction derived from one's own achievements. So ask yourself what you have done to be proud of. Um, Ask yourself if there's any way you could help another person do something that they could be proud of. I really believe if we all just spent a little bit more time working on that we'd be in a far better place, and we could have all done something to be proud of. So that's all I'm going to say on that. And we're going to get back into the excitement of Concrete 5 and Town Hall and techie stuff. So, in other news, let's see. Chrome version 83 breaks Concrete 5. Thanks, Chromium. Apparently, there is it's one of those things where it's like, well, it should have worked this way the whole time. There's some stuff deep inside of jQuery that was kind of just riding through, but wasn't actually following the spec of the way browsers are supposed to behave. And someone in the Chrome project decided to make it work right. This is something that we've certainly a sin we've committed in the past, and made it so. What is it, Andy? Like when you try to edit a block, you just get a blank pop-up.
That's the gist of it. Yeah, you get a blank pop-up, just a little dialogue with nothing in it. So it's super, jarring to get that, and feels very broken. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely not good. So, but the good news is they have, in their infinite wisdom, decided, yeah, maybe that's a little aggressive. So the next version of Chrome that's coming out, it doesn't roll it back, but it improves the way they've dealt with it. That's going to take a few weeks because everything does. So We also have a fix for it in the next 8.5.3 release of concrete5. And that is coming out later this week. So you should be able to update to the latest and get around that. You can also just use a different browser. And if you're truly hands-on, you can dig around in GitHub and you can pull the offending line and the fix out and just kind of hot fix it. Did I get all that right, gang?
Sounds about right to me.
All right. Look at that. Smart enough. All right. Let's do karma. All right. So you should be looking at the leaderboard. We have a karma system built into concrete5. Just helping people recognize the things that they've done to help others, things that they can be proud of. And every week we tally up the points, and from kind of the top 10-ish or so, we do a little random number picker, and we give away a free add-on to the person who has helped, which in this case is M. Ankele Noor, somebody who has promoted the project. Mindos 2. And someone who has done work typically on the core or approving add-ons in the PRB, and that is Zanweb from Germany. So thank you to not only the winners, but everybody who has done anything at all to contribute and give back a little bit to our little open source project. We very much appreciate it, and appreciate you. So thank you. Andy, do you want to talk about pull requests?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've got we've accepted a number of pull requests in the core this month. I'm probably going to miss a few because I have kind of separate lists, depending on whether you're kind of submitting to develop just sort of unsolicited, or whether you're working on specifically on some of the 9.0 stuff that we have in the core. But we've accepted pull requests from Biplub, Dimgur, Hamza, Corvin, and Zanweb. We've also gotten a lot of attention from Emilcati, as always, and OB7, and Bitter Dev, amongst others. So thank you all for all of the good work on the core, getting it ready for 8.5.3, like Franz mentioned, but also the 9.0 release that is proceeding really nicely in that separate branch. Things are definitely moving, and it's exciting to see.
Yeah, that is true. We're not going to show 9.0 this month because we showed some of it last month, and it's all in various states of flux. But it is we're using it on a project ourselves as a way to kind of drive the testing and the focus forward, and it is awfully fun. Just so many corners that kind of got scaffolded out, and hey, this would be cool in version 7 and 8, and now are getting dialed in with version 9. So we are all very excited about that here. Let's see some documentation updates. I know Mike Larson is we're all working from home because of exciting times, and I believe that they are building a skyscraper next to his window, because every time we talk to him, it sounds like absolute anarchy. So I will thank folks who are posting to the documentation site. It looks like Tripoli and or I don't know, IHINC. How would you say that, Andy?
I would say IHINC.
IHINC.
But I don't know. My
I don't know.
My impulses are not always correct.
This is why Facebook only allows real names. Well, IHINC, thank you. Tripoli as well. Anybody who is going to our doc site and using the wiki-ish version of concrete5 that we've built there, that is deeply appreciated. Let's see. I will also take a moment to urge you, if you have questions, you should be asking them in the concrete5 Slack town hall channel now. This is going to be a reasonably lightweight town hall, so a good one for any extra Q's and A's, because as we've said, we've been all very busy working on stuff we can't quite show you yet. That said, I do have a show and tell if you want to VJ up my screen there. Assume that's what's happening. So this is goahead.com. This is a holding company of public transport in the UK, as best as I understand it. Lots of trains and stuff. Trains in the UK are cool. It's fun to ride on the trains. Big public company, lots of things sliding in. Very pretty stripe-based layout where you've kind of got these horizontal bits of content that come and go and get swapped out. Huge, sexy mega menu with so that just takes me right to where you're going to go. I always find the architecture of these mega menus to be fascinatingly complex, right? It's like, well, if you have this flag on, it just takes you to the page, but corporate governments, it has a sub-nav, and I think there was one that had 2 sub-navs as I was going in at one point. I don't know if I'm maybe able to find it on the line, but pretty, I mean, these get blinky fast, and this one's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, I like that design.
Yeah, blurry legs in front of a bunch of buses. That's a good picture. Overlappy stripe stuff, that's kind of interesting. The stock ticker is updating all the time, I noticed. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing that with caching, but that's pretty clever. He is late for a meeting. Yeah, so there you go. Big public transport, who we are. Let's see, let's do an overview. What are all their, somewhere in here they had all their various brands. Maybe on a lower page. Oh, a little tickery thing. I don't know. You can go check it out yourself. Sexy site, built by designportfolio.co.uk. These the folks who submit it to our showcase. Oh, yes, we'll allow cookies. Absolutely. Sounds delicious. Creative communications. Yeah. Whoa, rainbows going through stuff. Hot diggity. So pretty cool. Nice agency site. Nice work. Big brand.
Nice.
Definitely worth showing people. There you go. So thank you for submitting that to our showcase. We appreciate that very much. If you don't know, there is a showcase that you can get to from the footer, and you can get to the community-driven part of the showcase over here. And really, the more stuff in here that is, real, please. You could stop with the spam, wouldn't hurt. But yeah, if you've got good-looking sites that you would like us to promote, just submit them to the showcase. You can do so from your profile page, and it's a relatively easy process. And we'll go through here, and we pick out ones that we think are worth showing in these show and tells. So. Thank you for doing that, Design Portfolio, and good work on the Go Ahead site. All right.
Nice.
Last thing that I have to talk about, do this briefly. I don't know how much of this we've discussed in the past or not, but I want to bring it up because I'm starting to see it in version 9. And I'm pretty stoked about it. All I have is this one comp to show. So you're going to have to put your thinking cap on and go down a little journey with me. So when you're making content, it's going to be linked to from somewhere else. And much of concrete5 is built around the page model today. So you make a new page for something, or maybe you're making a new event. That's a centralized model, but you put a bunch of content into some object model somewhere. And then somewhere else, there's going to be a list. Maybe it's a page list that puts a bunch of stuff on the page. Maybe it's a calendar that brings these events together. But you kind of have these 2 different problems, displaying the detail content and displaying the list. Well, one of the challenges that you have with kind of web architecture is, what does that list look like? And how do you get something that a designer likes, where there's a little bit of diversity in the layout? Think like a newspaper. It's not all just thumbnail, title, paragraph, thumbnail, title, paragraph. You kind of do 2 up, you do a big picture in the background, you want a little bit of visual play, if you will. I think famously, I'm thinking of like Flipboard, that app that's all it really does. It takes somebody else's news and it just kind of lays it out in different templates as if it were a magazine. And so that's kind of the problem that you have on a summary page. And we've been thinking about this problem for a while now, because a lot of folks that find concrete5 really powerful are folks who are working on sites with a large, diverse editing audience, right? A bunch of people who are contributing to a site that have kind of different levels of technical and design expertise. Possibly it's not their entire job. They only have so much time in the day. And, you want to do your best to make their content look as good as possible. So one of the things that we've been working on here are summary templates. And the idea here, this is all in version 9. The idea is if I were to make an event, in this case, the Parent and Youth Circuit Training event on August 13th from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Newman Fitness Center, I've got a detailed event page. That's great. But if I wanted to put it on, think like a landing page like this with all these different treatments, like, does it always have to look the same way? So what we're doing is we've built this interface to look at the attributes and the data that's available for that detailed page record and look at a separate set of what we call summary templates that kind of defines how we might lay those out. And then you can go through and turn on and off the templates that work. So sadly, this comp doesn't scroll, but if you put your imagination hat on and thought about this just kind of going down and having a series of 20 different treatments here, here's one with the image in the background. Here's one with the image on the side and the title up. Here's just a big title with a day underneath it. You could decide, hey, this is great, but it just doesn't look good on this orange, so I'm going to turn it off. Or I don't have the title that makes this feel the way I want it to, so I'm going to turn that one off. You can also switch between different breakpoints to see, okay, this is cool, but how does it look on mobile? Oh, that title's too long. I better not use it. So we're giving you the ability when you create content to define from that content level or from other interfaces how you want to summarize that content, what form factors you're willing to display a summary of that content in, so you get a site that really looks good while being able to grow over time, right? As opposed to kind of in the past, we would have hard coded a lot of these interfaces and just been like, well, every third article it does something goofy, and then you end up with these weird scenarios where it doesn't really look very good. And so this is almost, I mean, if you go back to the 80s and think like Print Shop Pro, where it was kind of like, look, we're going to give you fewer options, but you can just kind of pick what you like and what you don't. That's what we're working on here. So,
and just to add on to
that
just to add on to that real quick, like if you think about, we haven't done this to the core's version of the page list block yet, and I don't know if we will or if we'll just keep it kind of working as is. But if you think about the page list block, that whole block is very data driven. It filters down pages by lots of different criteria, and then the way it displays them is really sort of the way it's way more concerned with how it gets a certain subset of pages than how it shows them. Like it has some options hard code like baked into it that determine whether you show the description or whether the title or the name, but they're all very custom to the page list block. And if you use a custom template on the page list block, like the core does, that has a thumbnail custom template, then those options don't even make sense. Like the options at the page list block level, if your custom template doesn't show a description field, it doesn't make any sense to have a checkbox in the page list details that says show description field if the custom template isn't going to show it. So some of the idea behind the summary templates is we can completely separate the actual business of showing and formatting all these different fields and into attractive sort of end user templates and views for the page data or the calendar event data, away from the actual data that gets shoved into those templates. So it's believable to me right now, the page list block, if someone, you could certainly install a new template that a new custom template for the page list block that shows this data, but there'd be no, if someone else has a expanded page list block or a fancy page list block that lets you filter by custom attributes, there'd be no way for that template to be used by that other block. And so really what we're doing here is we're separating the business of defining these summary templates for things like calendar, events, and pages from the blocks that might show them. So you might go to the marketplace and install a theme that comes with a whole bunch of really nice summary templates that says, hey, this shows a whole grid of thumbnails with names and dates and descriptions that show up when you hover over them. And then if you've got a custom block type that, works with pages, you can use those templates without having to, make sure that there's some kind of custom template that's aware. You don't need a custom template for your block in order to do that. It kind of it separates the business of filtering the stuff from showing it. And yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Nice. Yeah, so we should have this stuff ready to be showing off in, I don't know, couple of months. This will be actively used, so we'll be able to do a more an interactive demo that requires less imagination. But
yeah,
we're excited about it anyways. All right, gang. Well, that is what I know for the exciting month of May and the beginning of June here. I don't know if there's any questions this month or not. I feel like we're all pretty in the trenches and overwhelmed. Corbin, do you have anything else we need to talk about, or are we
pretty light on questions? We got one in. Are there any plans to improve or modify the functionality for the calendar and events in version 9? The specific question is about attributes and how that works with attribute sets.
I don't think there's any real plans to change how. I assume the question is about how the calendar shows, how the calendar lays out the different attributes based on the sets that are there. I assume that's what that's about. I don't think we have any plans to change that. That seems to be working decently enough as it is.
Yeah. Is there a GitHub issue on it that has more detail or anything?
Not that I've seen. If there is any kind of suggestion that you'd have for us for modifications for that, or maybe description of what specifically might be causing you trouble, feel free to open that or link that somewhere. Because right now we're absolutely using that functionality with clients we deal with, and it works pretty well for us.
Yeah, happy to look for calendar improvements. It's like Corbin said, actively used. So any improvements that I think would help everyone, we'd be happy to hear about. But yeah, I mean, no attribute sets work for clumping them into tabs in the ad interface. That's pretty much where they came from in the first place. So yeah, if it's a question about display on the calendar detail page, maybe that's just something we need to understand better. And that's pretty good, I guess, feedback to leave our Totally Random on, or I'm sorry, our town hall, excuse me, old habits. We are very active in GitHub. So, if you have questions or ideas, I wouldn't say just raw questions, but if you have thoughtful ideas about how something might work better in the core, or a challenge that you are running into with the way that things have been built, don't wait for the next town hall. Write up a proposal in GitHub. Take the time to explain what you're doing and what the challenge you're running into, and if you've really got the time, offer what might be a better solution. But at least understanding kind of where you're coming from and what it's not doing really helps, because we're running all over the place, juggling all sorts of stuff. So very often it's simply, we're just not aware that we have there's a better way or even a problem in the first place. So, but we do look for those in GitHub, and that's the right way to submit that stuff. You're not going to get a lot of traction on the old bug tracker on concrete5.org, but you will in GitHub. Anything else that you got, Andy or Corvin, or from the community we need to chat about?
Nothing from me.
Sweet.
There was one more, just one last thing about plans for upgrading the marketplace. How are we on that?
We are eager and excited for doing it. It is a big project. So we have been feverishly documenting away in Confluence what we want the new community to be. And it is... it's exciting. It feels very much like things felt 10 years ago when, all we had was like a hello world page and we were building something new. We really are treating it as a rebuild from the get-go. I mean, the community site that we have now had so much love and so many different phases over the years that it is, it's time to really take a step back and kind of rebuild in the right way. So let's see, what can I tell you that's compelling about that? I can tell you that hosting plays a much bigger part in that we are working on some cloud hosting offerings. So it's more compelling and easier to provision and manage and do kind of web DevOps stuff on with your concrete5 site on, with us on the concrete servers. I can tell you that we hope that by doing that and by having a cloud offering, in addition to kind of the more traditional dedicated one, that we might be able to introduce a subscription license for add-ons and themes. We would still have the what we would call kind of a developer license, which is what you have today, the single site license. And as you know, we've talked about having kind of an unlimited license to deal with the multi-site problem, and also just folks that are like, yeah, I'm going to use this block or theme a lot. Can I just pay you a bunch to have a copy of it to call my own? So think of that as developer and then unlimited. And then we're also talking about, well, could we have a subscription license if we're going to be offering a hosted model of concrete5 where you have access to the source, but really through a code repository and not the entire core. Couldn't we offer you the functionality of an add-on or theme without giving you the source of it? And would that be a way to kind of to deal with some of the hey, do I get upgrades forever problem, right? Well, with subscription, yeah, because you're paying every month, you just get the latest version. With a developer license, no, there's, you get your version. Maybe if there's a security update, the developer can choose to give that as well. But after a certain period of time, you would want to pay an update for that. So that's pretty cool. I can also tell you the job board plays a more central role in our kind of strategy for the new community, that helping connect people who are looking for for someone to help, whether that is a freelancer to fix a dropdown or a beefy agency to design something from scratch. We see our job in the future as really connecting site owners with site builders and enabling that relationship. And so having a job board that is more than just an area in our forums and is filled with certified folks that are finding and delivering great solutions is important to us. Certification and training obviously goes hand in hand with that. If we're going to be blessing the work of some, we need to revisit our certification program, which is kind of it's in a somewhat atrophied state. We have basic certification for just using the platform today, but we don't really have a developer certification. So we're thinking about that. Obviously, all of that's a lot of stuff. So it's going to take us a while. We're going to try to do it right. You might find an interim update in the meantime where we revisit some of the marketing material on top level pages that is pretty dramatically out of date at this point. We're also still pretty committed to using Discourse for our forums, and you might find, without making any absolute promises, you might not be shocked if we relaunch the forums under Discourse and revisit some of the main marketing material sooner rather than later, just because we have found that our dreams continue to get bigger and bigger with the community site, and we don't want to just kind of push off delivery forever. So that was a bunch of information. I don't know if that helped or not.
No, yeah, I think that was great. You covered a couple of questions came in the meantime that I think you covered as well. I think one thing worth adding on that I'm really excited about with the community rebuild and all the work we're going to put into it is that once we're in a good spot with all of that stuff, adding new features and making changes to the features that we have becomes much easier on a shorter timeline. So that's something to look forward to. Definitely a lot easier to make changes like whatever it might be suggested by the community and try things out much easier. So that's one thing that I'm really excited for.
That is true. And I'm being corrected. I can never keep the names right. It's not Discord, it's Discuss. We're not going to be hanging out in a chat room. It's
nice. Well, I think that's the last one that I saw come in.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, there you go. Thank you, everybody. it's awesome to have so many people using our work and tuning in to join us. It's something that I know we all feel very proud of, and I hope it makes you proud too.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.